The initial sensation that washed over me was the profound silence that enveloped everything. Silence enveloped the space, devoid of her familiar voice that once danced through the air, the gentle clink of her spoon against the mug now a distant memory, and the off-key melody she hummed while folding laundry echoing only in the corners of my mind. Only the stillness remains, an emptiness that echoes the absence of love once shared. Initially, I dismissed it. Perhaps the pressures of life were suffocating her spirit, leaving her yearning for something more, something that ignited a fire within her heart. Yet, a week slipped by, and yet another, and yet another. She wasn't angry, not in the way one might expect. Only unspoken truths and lingering glances. She turned away, her silence a haunting reminder of what once was. I explored it. "Good morning, Clara," I said one day. I murmured, watching her by the sink, her fingers gracefully stirring the tea, a moment suspended in time, charged with unspoken longing. No reply received. Not a single look exchanged. That night, I set her beloved salted cashews on the coffee table, a tender gesture of longing and connection. She reached for the bowl, indulging in a few, yet still, an emptiness lingered. Silence reigns. I lay in bed beside her, gazing at the ceiling, my thoughts swirling with uncharted longings. Was there a moment I had crossed a line? Did you whisper a secret? Could this be a form of retribution? A visage? Then came the awakening, the sort that seeps deep within, heavy and inescapable. This was a profound awakening. This transcended mere frustration or the weight of a challenging time. This was an intricate dance of longing, a profound connection that stirred the soul. She was slowly fading from my life. And the most heart-wrenching aspect? I found myself lost in a whirlwind of feelings, unable to grasp the reasons behind it all. I began to observe her with heightened intensity, searching for hidden signs. She continued to depart for work at the same hour, a routine that felt both familiar and hauntingly distant. She returned home, prepared a meal, and lost herself in the glow of her phone screen. Yet subtle shifts began to emerge almost imperceptibly at first. She lingered in the night longer than she ever had before. Her phone was a constant companion, always within reach. She caught a whiff of a fragrance that whispered secrets of another's embrace, one I knew was not meant for my longing heart. I struggled to maintain my composure, to feign ignorance of the undeniable pull that stirred within me. Yet deep within, I was coming apart at the seams. Each night, I find myself wide awake beside her, consumed by the sensation of sharing my bed with someone I barely recognize. Then, one morning, I awoke to the haunting silence of an empty bed. She had vanished from my life. Yet, the phone lingered on the nightstand, a silent reminder of what could never be. After what felt like an eternity, my heart raced with a fervor I had almost forgotten. This was the moment, the instant I would uncover the truth I've longed for. As I grasped her phone, a shiver coursed through me, my hands quaking with anticipation. The screen remained open, a silent invitation lingering in the air. A conversation lingered in the air. The words held me captive, a rush of breath escaping as I felt a familiar ache stir within me. I can no longer wear this mask of pretense. The weight of it all is becoming unbearable. I took a deep breath and moved my finger up the screen. My heart raced, echoing in my ears. Does he remain oblivious to it all? None. It's almost amusing now in a bittersweet way. The earth trembled beneath my feet, a subtle reminder of the tumultuous feelings stirring within me. The reply came with a playful laugh, a spark of joy in the air. And then Clara had shared an image that stirred something deep within. I touched it, a whirlwind of emotions churning within me. It awakened. Initially, everything was a haze, but then clarity emerged, and an overwhelming sensation gripped my heart. It was her, the one who stirred something deep within, igniting a longing that felt both thrilling and perilous. Within the confines of a hotel room, clad in a robe, a sense of longing envelopes me, gazing into the lens with a hint of longing. Yet, what sent a chill coursing through my veins was the haunting image captured in the mirror that lay behind her. A soul, perched on the brink of temptation, his shirt loosely undone. A palpable tension hung in the air. I let the phone slip from my grasp, as if it seared my skin. A haunting sound filled my ears, echoing the intensity of my emotions. My body floated in a realm beyond the ordinary, untethered from the constraints of the world around me. I found myself retreating, my fingers clutching the edge of the nightstand, overwhelmed by a rush of feelings I thought I had buried deep within. This was a profound stillness. This felt like a deep betrayal. For weeks, I had been lost in the remnants of my marriage, unaware of the emotional devastation surrounding me. And the most painful aspect? She had surrendered to the truth, no longer concealing the depths of her longing. The instant the phone slipped from my grasp, an overwhelming weight pressed down, as if the very walls were closing in around me. The atmosphere grew heavy, wrapping around me like a shroud, constricting my breath and igniting a tumult of longing within. My hands quivered with a mix of anticipation and longing as I reached for the nightstand, seeking a moment of stability amidst the chaos of my emotions. The evidence lay before me, impossible to ignore, forever altering my reality. Clara was an enigma, shrouded in layers of longing and unspoken yearnings. She was embarking on a journey of profound introspection. She had already turned the page, and I lingered like a shadow, a fleeting memory she hadn't yet cast aside. I struggled to draw in a breath, yet my body remained unyielding. My heart raced within its cage, each beat echoing the haunting image on her phone, a relentless loop that consumed my thoughts. The deepest pain lay not in the act of betrayal, but in the shadows it cast over everything we once cherished. It was the way she laughed that made it all the more intoxicating. It's almost amusing now in a bittersweet way. Those words pierced my soul, drawing me into a chasm of longing I never imagined I would encounter. For weeks, I found myself lost in a whirlwind of confusion, dissecting every moment, every word, consumed by her silence, desperately seeking a path to mend what felt irreparably broken. All the while, she had been hiding her laughter, a secret joy that danced just out of my reach. As I shifted my gaze, a rush of longing enveloped me, drawing me closer to her side of the bed. The sheets lay in gentle disarray, the pillow bearing the soft imprint of her head, a lingering reminder of her presence just moments ago. I envisioned her beside me, feigning normalcy, fully aware that she would vanish the instant I surrendered to sleep. How long had she been lost in this intoxicating dance of longing? How often had she entered our home, pressed her lips against my cheek, and slipped away to the bedroom, the lingering aroma of another man woven into her very essence. I was consumed by an overwhelming restlessness. My body trembled, and my thoughts surged like a wild river, too swift for me to grasp. I craved understanding. I was compelled to uncover the truth, to grasp the extent of the betrayal that lay beneath the surface. I seized her phone once more, my fingers acting on instinct, gliding through the messages with an urgency I couldn't control. Among the collection, some images hinted at a deeper longing, while others captured the essence of an everyday connection, revealing the complexity of their bond. A connection I never realized was there. There were whispers of longing, hints of secret encounters, and the ache of her absence felt even more profound when she was confined to the same space as me. And then I glimpsed something that ignited a thrilling shiver deep within me, a whisper from the depths of a few nights past. I'm on the brink of liberation from it all. Everything that has led us here, that was me. That signified the essence of our union. I sank onto the edge of the bed, my gaze fixed on the floor, feeling the heavy burden of everything enveloping me. It wasn't merely an act of betrayal. It felt as though I had been completely forgotten. She lingered, biding her time, as if I were merely a faded chapter in her life, one she was weary of revisiting. The bedroom enveloped me, its walls closing in with an intensity that was both thrilling and suffocating. The walls felt like they were tightening around me. I felt an overwhelming urge to break free. With a rush of urgency, I snatched my phone and keys, the chill of the morning air awakening something deep within me as I hurriedly slipped on my shoes and stepped outside. The sun slowly crept over the horizon, its soft light spilling onto the silent street, awakening a sense of longing that lingered in the air. All appeared familiar, yet the essence of it all had shifted profoundly. I wandered. I wandered aimlessly, lost in the depths of my thoughts. My feet moved instinctively, propelling me onward while my thoughts spiraled in a whirlwind of longing and uncertainty. How long had she been yearning for this moment? Had she been anticipating my discovery all along? Or would she one day pull me aside and reveal it to me as if it were just another ordinary piece of news? I grasped my phone, my finger lingering over my best friend's number, a mix of longing and hesitation swirling within me. I felt an overwhelming urge to reach out, to voice the unspoken, to transform the intangible into something palpable. Yet I found myself pausing. To voice it would be to embrace the truth, and I found myself hesitating, uncertain if my heart was prepared for such a revelation. Yet, I continued to move forward, lost in a whirlwind of feelings that tugged at my very core. As I finally returned home, a deep ache coursed through my legs, and a relentless throb pulsed in my head. The silence enveloped the house, a heavy stillness that whispered secrets long buried. Clara remained absent, leaving a void filled with longing and unspoken yearnings. A part of me yearned to face her in that moment, to thrust the phone before her and insist on the truth. Yet, a deeper part of my soul understood that it would change nothing. I had witnessed more than enough. Uncertainty loomed over my next steps, yet a singular truth resonated within me. What is this stillness? Felt like the end of everything, and thus, whatever remnants we held onto faded away. I lingered in my car, parked just outside our home, my hands clutching the steering wheel with a fierce intensity, my knuckles pale and strained. My heart raced relentlessly since I stepped outside that morning, desperate to flee the burden of what I had just unearthed. My thoughts spiraled through a haze of vivid memories, replaying the messages, the photographs, and the sharp sting of her casual cruelty. There's a certain irony in it all now, isn't there? I found myself revisiting those moments again and again, clinging to the hope that perhaps, just perhaps, there was a different reason behind it all. Yet it remained elusive. I had witnessed all that was essential to my understanding. I lingered at the threshold, torn between the pull of the unknown and the weight of my hesitation. Would she return? Could she really act as if everything was normal, as if I hadn't just uncovered the truth that shattered the very foundation of our life together? For years, I poured my heart into this house, infusing it with passion, dedication, and an unwavering promise. But now, it felt like a place fraught with longing and unspoken yearnings. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my decision as I stepped out of the car. The house enveloped me in a haunting silence as I crossed the threshold. I was almost certain that, when I entered, I would find Clara on the couch, lost in her phone, her attention drifting away from me as it often did. Yet, her absence lingered in the air. The silence lingered, heavy and suffocating, as if the very walls were bearing witness to my hidden turmoil. I stepped into the kitchen, setting my keys down on the counter, battling the ache in my heart that threatened to consume me. My gaze fell upon her cherished coffee mug in the sink, a solitary trace of lipstick lingering on the rim, whispering secrets of unspoken longing. It was a seemingly insignificant moment, yet it ignited a surge of intense emotion within me. How could she continue as if nothing had shifted beneath the surface? How could she return home, savor her coffee, and share a meal with me, all the while aware of the secret she was keeping from me? I sank into the chair, my fingers gliding over my skin, as a wave of longing washed over me. After weeks of quiet, the stillness that hung between us transformed from a heavy weight to an agonizing void. I had devoted countless hours to the charade of indifference, persuading myself that with a little more effort and the gift of distance, everything would eventually fall into place. Yet they chose not to. They simply could not. I reached for my phone once more, my thumb lingering hesitantly above her messages. I could reach out to her, reveal that I was aware of it all, and insist on the truth. Yet what words would escape her lips? Could she truly resist it? Brush it aside? Will you unleash your fury upon me for prying into your secrets? Would she truly feel anything at all? I lingered on the screen, caught in a moment of hesitation, before retreating from the messages and turning to my contacts instead. Nathan, my closest companion, held the highest place in my heart. For months, he had been hinting that something was amiss, a subtle tension lingering in the air. It's as if the spark has dimmed, and her gaze no longer holds the warmth it once did. Do you truly feel everything is all right? I had dismissed him repeatedly, assuring myself that it was all just a figment of my imagination. I pressed the call button, surrendering to the rush of my heart before doubt could creep in. He answered on the second ring, a spark igniting in the air between them. "Hey, my friend, how have you been?" I parted my lips, yearning to express the tumult within, yet silence enveloped me instead. It felt as if uttering those words would shatter the delicate illusion, plunging me into a world where longing and unspoken yearnings intertwined in a bittersweet dance. He inquired once more, a hint of worry lacing his tone. I let out a breath, heavy with unspoken longing. I find myself yearning for a connection, a conversation that stirs the depths of my soul. A moment of silence lingered, followed by a soft, understanding breath that spoke volumes. "Do you feel the pull to come over?" Indeed. I seized my keys and stepped out the door, a rush of unspoken longing propelling me forward. Nathan's apartment, just a brief 10-minute journey away, was filled with the comforting sense of takeout and cheap beer. Tonight, that very familiarity wrapped around me like a warm embrace, offering solace in its unpretentiousness. He swung the door wide before my knuckles could even touch the wood, his gaze locking onto my expression, a silent shake of his head conveying a world of unspoken emotions. His voice was low, almost a whisper, as he stepped aside, allowing me to enter the space between us, charged with unspoken tension, so deeply troubling. I brushed by him, my heart racing, and sank onto the couch, my fingers pressing against my temples as a wave of conflicting emotions washed over me. More painful. He reached into the fridge, pulling out 2 beers, and offered me one with a knowing glance before settling into the chair across from me. "Understood. Unleash your truth." I inhaled deeply, savoring the moment, before releasing it all into the air. "Clara is betraying my trust." The words lingered on my tongue, as if they were echoes of a life not my own, stirring something deep within me that I had long forgotten. Yet they belonged to me. They had become the essence of my existence. Nathan paused, his heart racing as a whirlwind of emotions surged within him. He lingered in silence, his gaze fixed on me, a tension building in his jaw. "How can you be certain?" A hollow chuckle escaped my lips. Her phone, a vessel of unspoken longings. She had left it ajar this morning, an invitation laced with unspoken longing. He shuddered. Oh, the intensity of it all. That's heart-wrenching. I lingered over my beer, my gaze fixed on the coffee table as if it contained the secrets I yearned to uncover. Her behavior has been strangely captivating for weeks now. Silence envelopes us, your gaze deliberately averted, as if the very air between us crackles with unspoken tension. I believed it was merely a fleeting thought, yet I halted, my head shaking in disbelief. I find myself lost in a whirlwind of feelings, unsure of what I truly believed. Yet, she no longer makes an effort to conceal her feelings. She finds humor in it, a lightness that dances around the edges of something deeper. Nathan let out a low curse, his fingers tangling in his hair as he wrestled with the tumult of his feelings. What will you choose to embrace? Wasn't that the question lingering in the air? What path was I about to embark on? For years, I wove a tapestry of dreams with her, clinging to a vision of a future that was nothing more than an illusion. I had spent countless moments attempting to mend a shattered piece of my heart, unaware that its fracture had occurred long before my eyes opened to the truth. What comes next? I drained the last of my beer, placing the bottle down with a weighty sense of closure that caught me off guard. I believe I've reached my limit, I murmured, the confession escaping my mouth before I fully grasped the weight of my choice. After what felt like an eternity, A long-lost sense of freedom washed over me, allowing me to inhale deeply once more. I lingered in Nathan's apartment, the chill of the beer bottle grounding me as my mind raced to reconcile the weight of my own confession. I believe I've reached my limit. It emerged unexpectedly, a whisper of truth that caught me off guard. It emerged, as if my thoughts had surrendered to the truth my heart had long embraced. Nathan breathed out, a slow nod escaping his lips. "Are you certain?" That was the essence of it all. For weeks, I had been lost in a sea of confusion, reaching for anything that could illuminate the shadows cast by Clara's silence. Yet this, for the first time in ages, a certainty washed over me, stirring emotions long buried and awakening a longing I dared not acknowledge. "Yeah," I whispered, sinking deeper into the embrace of the couch. "I can no longer bear this weight." I refused to be the one lingering in the shadows, yearning for a moment when she might recall the depth of her feelings for me. Nathan exhaled a soft, lingering whistle, a sound that carried the weight of unspoken longing. "Oh, how I've longed to hear those words from you." My brow furrowed as I gazed at him, a whirlwind of feelings stirring within me. "What does that imply?" He paused, a tremor of uncertainty coursing through him as he rubbed the back of his neck. I hesitated to speak up earlier, but this situation with Clara has stirred something deep within me. It has been a journey long before now. My heart sank. "What is this?" He squirmed in his seat, a tempest of feelings swirling within him. "Well, the whole betrayal aspect. Perhaps this is something entirely different. Yet, the manner in which she has been treating you, it has lingered in the shadows for some time now. You were simply unwilling to acknowledge it." I prepared to voice my thoughts, yet the words faltered, trapped within me, because he was undeniably correct. In the depths of my soul, I was aware of it all along. The way she once gazed at me, filled with warmth and admiration, had dimmed long before the silence enveloped us. I had been trapped in a web of self-deception, whispering to myself that everything was all right, that love couldn't simply vanish into thin air. Yet it had. At least for her, it was a journey of longing and awakening. I pressed my palms against my cheeks, overwhelmed by the heaviness of my emotions bearing down on me. What path should I take from here? Nathan let out a soft, resigned sigh. "The choice lies in your hands. Yet, if I found myself in your shoes, I would reclaim my strength and no longer let her dictate the course of my journey." His words lingered in my mind, echoing through the silence of the drive home. The house loomed in shadows as I crept into the driveway, an unsettling anticipation wrapping around me. In that fleeting moment, a spark of longing ignited within me, whispering that perhaps, just perhaps, she was there, anticipating my arrival. Perhaps she had come to understand the depth of her actions and was prepared to open up. Yet, as I stepped inside, a profound silence enveloped me, the emptiness echoing the unspoken longings within, and a shift stirred within. I found myself in the heart of the living room, my gaze wandering through the familiar yet charged atmosphere. It took me a moment to grasp the profound shift that had unfolded within me. Something essential was absent. Little moments, the cherished photograph of our anniversary getaway, a moment frozen in time, the cherished blanket draped across the couch, a soft reminder of warmth and longing, a handful of volumes resting quietly on the shelf, each holding untold stories and secrets waiting to be uncovered. As I stepped into the bedroom, an overwhelming sensation gripped my heart. Her closet held remnants of a past life, a whisper of what once was. She was on the verge of departure. Silence reigns, without a hint of caution. No farewell. The fury crashed over me, overwhelming and consuming. It wasn't merely her departure that pierced my heart, but the realization that she had orchestrated this moment long before I ever caught a glimpse of the truth. She was gradually fading, taking fragments of our shared existence along with her, and I had been too lost in my own world to notice. I perched on the edge of the bed, fingers tangled in my hair, struggling to comprehend the whirlwind of emotions that enveloped me as I gazed at the scene before me. The silence that had enveloped me for weeks, heavy and suffocating. It was a profound longing masked by indifference. It was a moment of longing. She had distanced herself from our union long before I became aware that something was amiss. And now, she was stepping into the shadows of her own heart. She was slowly fading me away. A shiver coursed through me at the mere thought. For so long, I found myself lost in the depths of her silence, yearning to unravel the mystery of my perceived missteps. Yet, the reality was it was never about me at all. She had resolved her heart long ago, and that was the deepest wound of all. I tightened my jaw and rose to my feet, a wave of conviction washing over me. If she chose to walk away, so be it. But I couldn't bear to remain here while she altered the past. I clutched my phone tightly, capturing every moment with fervor. The closet, only partially filled, whispers secrets of what once was and what could be, stirring a longing that dances just beyond reach. The absent picture frames, the nightstand, once a simple holder for her phone, now stood as a silent witness to the turmoil of her heart, laden with the weight of secrets and unspoken yearnings. I couldn't bear the thought of her slipping away as if our connection meant nothing at all. She could have been on the brink of departure. Yet I too was caught in that same whirlwind. I lingered in that moment, lost in the shadows of the half-empty closet, my thoughts swirling in a tempest of disbelief and longing. It felt like a dream, tinged with longing and unspoken yearnings. How can someone weave themselves into the fabric of your existence, sharing your bed, your dreams, your laughter, only to gradually, almost imperceptibly, unravel their presence from your life, leaving you in a haze of confusion and longing? The silence she had enveloped herself in was more than mere distance. It was a way out, a means to escape the confines of what was deemed acceptable. I ought to have been consumed by rage. I could have been shattering barriers, seeking the truth, pursuing her relentlessly to uncover her secrets. Yet, an overwhelming void consumed me. It felt as though I had been wandering through a haze for weeks, and now that the truth had finally surfaced, I found myself devoid of the will to continue. I reached for my phone, my fingers trembling slightly as I navigated through the images I had captured. Hints of something deeper, though clarity eluded me for now. Perhaps a sign that this was more than just a figment of my imagination. I never anticipated the widening chasm that would form between us. Perhaps it was the haunting realization that once she vanished entirely, the echoes of her affection would fade into nothingness, leaving only a void where love once thrived. The front door clicked open, sending a shiver through my entire being. Echoes of longing, deliberate, cautious, and tinged with longing. Her surprise at my presence was palpable, a moment charged with unspoken tension and longing. I remained frozen in place, my fingers clutching the phone with such intensity that a dull pain radiated through my knuckles. In that moment, she stepped into view, igniting a spark that stirred something deep within. Clara, a name that stirs a whirlwind of feelings, igniting a spark of longing and unspoken yearnings. For weeks, her presence felt like a distant memory, a fleeting shadow that haunted my thoughts. Her presence glided through our home, ethereal and haunting, stirring something deep within me. She stood with her back to me, her gaze drifting into the distance, lost in a world beyond reach. Yet now, in this moment, she appeared transformed. It was as if she was caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions, torn between relief and irritation at my lingering presence. She remained silent for a moment, letting out a gentle breath as she placed her purse on the dresser, the air thick with unspoken tension. I observed her, yearning for a revelation, a justification, something, anything to ease the tension that hung between us. Silence envelopes the heart, a void where longing stirs beneath the surface, whispering secrets of what could have been. She averted her gaze, as if my presence was nothing more than a fleeting shadow. A deep yearning within me broke free. That's all there is. To my surprise, my voice emerged with a calmness I hadn't anticipated. She stood still, her hand suspended above a drawer she had clearly meant to clear out. I rose to my feet, compelling her gaze to meet mine. "You've vanished for weeks, and now you're gathering your things as if it means nothing?" She let out a soft sigh, her fingers gently massaging her temple as a wave of longing washed over her. "Please, not at this moment. I'm weary. Exhausted. A hollow chuckle escaped my lips. Is that so? Imagine being the man who has spent countless nights lost in thought, grappling with the haunting question of what became of his beloved wife. As she finally turned to face me, her expression was a tantalizing enigma, stirring something deep within. Lucas, we shouldn't go down this path. What should I do? I swept my hand across the room, inviting the weight of unspoken feelings to linger in the air. Act as if you weren't already set on departing before I even had a chance to discover the truth? That you hadn't slipped away before I received the news? Her jaw tightened with unspoken longing. I never intended for it to unfold like this. I let out a derisive laugh. What do you mean by that? So what was your plan for that? Did you plan to let me return one day to find that everything had vanished without a trace? Her silence lingered in the air, heavy with unspoken words and unfulfilled longing. And that was the revelation. I ran my fingers through my hair, lost in thought as I paced back and forth. Oh, Clara. She wrapped her arms around herself, a shield against the tumult of feelings stirring within her. I longed for peace, yet the turmoil within me stirred against my will. I paused my restless movements and turned my gaze toward her. Truly gazed upon her. This was the woman who had become the very center of my existence. The one I had placed my deepest trust in more than anyone else. And now, she stood before me, a veil of tension between us, her gaze averted as if my presence was a burden she couldn't bear. My voice trembled softly as I spoke once more. Did you ever truly feel for me? A fleeting spark danced across her features. Shame? Perhaps. Yet it slipped away too swiftly to grasp its true essence. She took a deep breath. I truly did. I nodded, my gaze fixed on the ground, lost in a whirlwind of unspoken feelings. What comes next? Her silence lingered in the air, heavy with unspoken feelings. Quietude. Once more, I breathed out, sensing a profound break within my soul. That was all I longed to uncover. I finally spoke. I took hold of my keys, my heart racing as I brushed past her, stepping out into the world, descending the stairs with a mix of urgency and longing. I found myself lost in a labyrinth of feelings, unsure of the path ahead. I felt an undeniable pull, a whisper in my heart that told me I couldn't remain here any longer. The journey is a blur in my mind. My hands clutched the wheel, knuckles pale with tension, my foot pressing the gas a touch more forcefully than intended. The streets rushed by, streetlights flickering in and out of clarity, reminiscent of a life that felt both familiar and foreign, stirring something deep within me. I found myself wandering, not toward any destination, but simply seeking to escape, far from that dwelling, distant from the partially filled wardrobe, separated from the woman who had gazed into my soul and deemed me unworthy of her words. In a moment of quiet reflection, I found myself drawn into a parking lot. In a dimly lit diner, where the neon lights flickered like forgotten dreams, and the coffee carried the weight of unspoken longings. I parked but remained still, lost in thought, gazing at the fissures in the asphalt, my heart racing in my ears. She found herself on the brink of departure, caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Days turned into weeks. Perhaps it has been months. As I lay awake, consumed by confusion and heartache, she was quietly plotting her way out, driven by a longing that felt both exhilarating and forbidden, and I had allowed it to unfold. She had consumed my essence, leaving only shadows of who I once was. I let out a deep breath, my hands gliding over my face as I sought to dispel the heavy burden that clung to my heart. I found myself lost in thought. I craved understanding. Yet, her voice resonated within me, drowning out everything else. My heart once belonged to you. I do not. I truly did. It was a time when hidden feelings stirred within, awakening a longing that had been buried deep. The heart, once restrained, began to pulse with an intensity that felt both exhilarating and dangerous. Each glance, each fleeting touch ignited a fire that could not be ignored, drawing two souls together in a dance of yearning and secrecy. The thrill of the forbidden wrapped around them, creating a world where passion and vulnerability intertwined, leading to a profound rediscovery of what it meant to truly desire. In that moment, everything else faded away, leaving only the raw, unfiltered emotions that surged forth like a tidal wave, reshaping their very existence. As if I were a fleeting thought she had tucked away among the remnants of what once filled our shared space. The waitress rapped on my window, pulling me back from the depths of my thoughts. Her presence crept upon me like a whisper in the night, unnoticed until it was almost too late. Her smile was a delicate balance of warmth and restraint, the notepad poised in her grip like a secret waiting to be unveiled. "Are you all right in there?" In that moment, I became acutely aware of my own reflection, bathed in the soft, flickering light of the dashboard, my gaze distant and my body coiled with unspoken tension. I reluctantly nodded and let the window slide down just a bit. Indeed, it was a night that lingered, heavy with unspoken yearnings. Her nod was a silent acknowledgement, as if she grasped the depths of unspoken longing. Yet deep down we were both aware that she truly didn't. "Would you care for a cup of coffee?" With a flutter of uncertainty, I finally gave in and nodded. Indeed, darkness. She slipped away into the shadows of the diner, and I found myself leaning against the headrest, my gaze fixed on the entrance, lost in a whirlwind of longing and unspoken yearnings. A couple nestled in a booth by the window, their laughter intertwining as they savored a shared plate of fries, a moment charged with unspoken longing. They appeared vibrant and full of life, perhaps in the tender years of early adulthood, perhaps lingering in that moment when affection seemed unbreakable. I found myself questioning if I had ever shared that kind of connection with Clara. The waitress reappeared, a to-go cup in hand, and I expressed my gratitude, slipping a few bills into her palm before sealing the window once more. I hesitated before taking that first sip. I cradled it gently, allowing the warmth to flow through my fingertips, seeking solace in its embrace. In a moment of reckless impulse, my fingers instinctively reached for my phone. My thumb lingered above her contact, a pulse of longing coursing through me. There were countless thoughts swirling within me, yearning to be expressed. Countless questions lingered, each one yearning for the answers that felt just out of reach. Yet, deep down, I understood that they would remain just out of reach. In that moment, I found myself taking a step I never imagined I would dare to take. As I scrolled down, my heart raced at the sight of the one person I had never imagined reaching out to. Julian. My heart aches with a longing that feels both exhilarating and dangerous. The sound echoed through the silence. Just once, twice, I found myself lost in the depths of longing. Suddenly, a voice I thought was lost to time echoed back to me. "Is that you, Lucas?" I released a breath, clutching the coffee cup as if it were my only anchor in a storm of longing. "Greetings," I spoke, my voice trembling with unspoken longing. I feel an overwhelming urge to share what's been stirring within me. A moment of stillness. "So, where have you gone?" I cast my gaze about. A quaint diner nestled along the winding stretch of Highway 22. "I'll arrive in 20 minutes. The call concluded, leaving me gazing at my screen, my heart racing with a tumultuous mix of longing and uncertainty. Years had slipped by without a word from Julian. Not since the rift between us. It had been a long time since Clara had whispered that I was better off without him. And yet, here I found myself, longing for what once was, as the dreams I had carefully crafted crumbled into dust around me. I savored the coffee, its bitterness anchoring me in a moment of intense reflection. After what felt like an eternity, a flicker of connection pierced through the solitude that had enveloped me. The diner held a quiet stillness, shadows lingering in the corners as Julian stepped inside, the air thick with unspoken yearnings. He appeared strikingly familiar, with broad shoulders and a hint of scruffiness, exuding that same effortless confidence in his walk. Yet, beneath the surface, another layer stirred within. A moment of uncertainty, as if he were caught in a whirlwind of uncertainty, questioning his very presence in this moment. I found myself lost in uncertainty. His gaze found me in the dimly lit booth, a subtle nod acknowledging our unspoken connection as he settled into the seat opposite me. For what felt like an eternity, silence enveloped us. We lingered in silence, the heavy burden of time and unacknowledged feelings hanging in the air, palpable and electric. Then he exhaled, a sigh heavy with unspoken longing. I never imagined I would hear from you again. I gazed into my coffee, my fingers delicately exploring the rim of the mug, lost in a swirl of thoughts and unspoken yearnings. Indeed, neither do I. He reclined, his gaze piercing through me, unraveling layers of unspoken longing. Thus, what is happening? I let out a breathless chuckle, tinged with longing. How do I begin this journey? Explore the inception. I should have felt a rush of unease. It had been almost 6 years of silence between us. A chasm created the moment Clara declared he was no longer welcome in our lives. And like a naive heart, I succumbed to the whispers. She warned me about him, claiming he was a reckless force, someone who never embraced the weight of life, always pulling me into chaos. Perhaps she had a point. Julian was undeniably wild in those days, perpetually seeking the next exhilarating experience, flitting from one opportunity to another, never allowing roots to take hold. Yet, he held the title of my dearest companion from the past, the one who stood by me in my darkest moments, when the world felt cold and distant, and I cast that aside. For her, the heart aches with a longing that defies reason. I exhaled softly, my gaze finally meeting his. Clara has been unfaithful to me. His expression remained largely unchanged, yet a subtle tension gripped his jaw. He seemed unfazed, as if he had anticipated this moment all along. Liana, a name that stirs something deep within, a whisper of longing that dances on the edge of what is allowed. In the shadows of our hearts, there lies a yearning, a pull towards the uncharted, where emotions intertwine with the thrill of the forbidden. Each thought of her ignites a fire, a reminder of what could be, a bittersweet ache that lingers in the silence. The allure of the unattainable beckons, inviting a journey of rediscovery that is both exhilarating and fraught with peril. Wounded deeper than I ever anticipated. You were aware, I murmured, my tone softer than I intended. He hesitated, the silence stretching between them like a taut string, heavy with unspoken feelings. Instead, he caught the attention of a waitress, requested a coffee, and then leaned back, arms crossed on the table, lost in thought. I was unaware. Yet, an undeniable sensation lingered within me. I let out a breath, my fingers tangling in my hair. Indeed, it seems I was the final soul to awaken to this hidden truth. She is no longer here. I acquiesced, a silent acknowledgement of the unspoken longing that lingered in the air. Not entirely. Yet, for months now, she has been drifting further away. And now I understand the reason behind it all. Julian shook his head, a wry smile escaping his lips, tinged with a hint of longing. There was something I longed to express in that moment. When she began to distance herself from me, it felt like a haunting ache in my heart. Yet, I believed you had already chosen your path. A shiver ran through me, as a heavy weight of remorse took root in my heart. I truly did. The silence hung heavy between us once more. Then he let out a heavy breath, a sound filled with longing. What comes next? Wasn't that the question lingering in the air, heavy with unspoken truths? What comes next? For weeks, I lingered in a haze, yearning for her voice to break the silence, longing for her to offer me the resolution I crave. Yet, in this moment of clarity, a profound truth began to unfold within me. She was never going to provide me with the resolution I sought. I had to seize it for myself. I find myself at a crossroads, uncertain and yearning for clarity. I confess my truth. Yet, I feel as though I can no longer linger in the shadows, hoping for her choice. Julian's lips curled into a knowing smirk as he shook his head, a flicker of something deeper dancing in his eyes. Finally, the moment has arrived. The waitress placed his coffee before him, and he savored a slow sip, his gaze returning to me with an intensity that stirred something deep within. Hear me out, my friend. I find myself lost in the depths of uncertainty about what you truly seek in this moment. Yet, no matter what it may be, you need not navigate this journey in solitude. It struck me deeply, awakening a longing I didn't know was there. For an eternity, I found myself submerged in a profound stillness, enveloped by Clara's quietude and my own unspoken thoughts. Yet, after what felt like an eternity, a sense of liberation washed over me, allowing me to finally inhale deeply once more. This time, I would fiercely guard what was rightfully mine, refusing to let her strip it away. The dawn light began to spill across the horizon as I returned to my driveway, a bittersweet feeling washing over me. Sleep eluded me. I found myself questioning whether I had the strength to even attempt it. For the first time in weeks, a breath of fresh air filled my lungs, lifting the weight that had been pressing down on me. Julian and I lost ourselves in conversation for hours, exploring the depths of our thoughts and feelings. The memories of a time when I surrendered to a union that had long since faded, leaving me adrift in a sea of unfulfilled longing. The part of me I had left behind in my quest to fulfill Clara's expectations. At some point in my journey, a profound truth dawned upon me. For years, I clung desperately to a memory that had long since faded, a fleeting connection that eluded my grasp. I had allowed another to define my value. And now, as I lingered at my front door, a profound realization washed over me. I had reached my limit. I entered, my heart racing, anticipating the sight of Clara in the living room, poised to offer me a feeble justification that would barely scratch the surface of what lay between us. Yet the house remained silent, holding its breath in the stillness of unspoken yearnings. And then I realized, the closet stood bare, echoing with the weight of unspoken longings. She had vanished into the shadows of memory. No note, no text, no farewell. And yet, for the first time, I felt a spark of connection that I never thought I would find. A wave of liberation washed over me. I lingered in that stillness, allowing the weight of unspoken feelings to envelop me. It was a breath of fresh air, a tantalizing whisper that stirred something deep within me, awakening feelings I thought were lost forever. This felt profound. This was serenity. I entered the kitchen, brewed a cup of coffee, and settled at the table, feeling a rush of unspoken emotions swirling within me. I chose to ignore my phone. I found myself lost in thoughts of her, captivated by the unspoken connection that lingered between us. I merely lingered in the shadows, and it stirred something deep within. In a moment of undeniable impulse, I reached for my phone and dialed Julian's number. "Hey," he replied, his voice heavy with drowsiness. A sly smile crept across my lips. "Do you still have that spare room available?" A moment of stillness. Then a soft, knowing laugh escaped the lips. "Finally, the moment has arrived." I reclined in my chair, gazing out the window as the soft morning light poured into the room, awakening something deep within me. I found myself standing at the edge of uncertainty, unsure of what awaited me in the shadows of my heart. Yet, there was a truth that resonated deep within me. I refused to let anyone else dictate the course of my destiny any longer. This was merely the beginning of an awakening. It was the dawn of something profound.